Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the No BS Human Design Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the heart center, but probably with a different spin than you're used to. Yes, I'm going to teach you about the defined heart and the undefined heart. We're going to deep dive into that, but heart energy is so much different than just a defined heart center or an undefined heart center. And it actually has a lot to do with burnout. So this is something that I learned the hard way through my own functional burnout, and discovering that simply healing my sacral center wasn't as easy as that. And if this sounds like it's for you, keep listening, because after we talk about the defined and undefined and the general education around the heart center, we're going to talk about why that's linked to the sacral and healing. That's like the juiciest part of my Revive Your Sacral program. I love, love, love when we start talking about opening the heart center. And then I think it would be fun to even do my favorite little heart center visualization / meditation. So that will also be after we talk about the heart center in general educational context. So if that sounds good for you, you're going to want to listen to the end of this when you're in a safe, comfy space that probably you're not driving, or you can come back to it when you aren't driving. All right. So what is the heart center? It's the tiniest little triangle on your body graph that's right around the middle. And this is known as our center for ego and willpower and drive and material resources. And when you hear the word ego, I don't want you to immediately think bad, like this is a bad center. Our ego is our ego. The way people have talked about it makes it sound like all ego is bad, but our ego is just here as a part of us. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be neither, it can be in between and be neutral, and it just is. So if you have it colored in on your chart, this means you have a defined heart center. And this means that you have a more consistent access to the energy of that center, consistent motivation, consistent recognition of your own value and desires. You like to be in control of your own resources. It's very healthy and fulfilling for you to access willpower as a motor, as a way to stick to commitments and moving through things with that willpower energy. Now, that being said, original human design teaches things like you're going to have your consistent sense of self-worth if you have it defined. And if you're undefined, you'll have an inconsistent sense of self-worth, the shadow and the not self to both sides. But I do want to preface this with saying, in my work, I have done so many chart readings. I've worked with so many incredible people, and especially in my own undefined heart, I understand that energy. And I want to just say that the shadow of one can also very much be the shadow of another. So if you have a defined heart, you can also struggle with self-worth. So I think that's the part of the thing that really frustrates me with the original human design teachings is it's so black and white. And it's never black and white, right? We are humans having a human experience, and you can absolutely feel something that the original human design teachings say that you, quote, shouldn't. So when I say things like consistent recognition of your own value and desires, you're going to have a consistent way that you see that and and recognize that about yourself, even though you might fluctuate on how you feel about it. I hope that makes sense. And then we'll touch more about the undefined when we get there. But overall, the defined heart center is kind of like a bank. You need to invest in it first in order to draw out its energy. Put money in the bank if you want to actually go to the ATM and receive that money. It will say yes to things when it has energy in the bank. That willpower will turn on. You'll feel that motor. It is a motor within the human design chart or body graph so that you can draw energy from it. But if you aren't putting into it, if you don't have not a natural self-worth, because it might not be natural for you, but if you don't have the practices in place to recognize your self-worth and your value and your desires, and you don't put back into yourself, put back into your own heart, you will not be able to access that energy. Just much like the sacral center, the way that you put into it is very much how you can draw out of it. So when you are in alignment, you likely thrive materially. I don't have a defined heart, but I am a Taurus. My sun sign is Taurus. So I'm very much into the material plane and I like nice things. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, even though society can make you feel like there's something wrong with that. You really thrive being valued for your work. And like I said, you'll have a natural / consistent sense of self-worth that you will be able to draw and lean back on in a lot of situations in your life. It's important to say that understand that most people in your life likely don't have this defined. The majority of the population do not have a defined heart center and likely won't have the same values or connection and motivation as you. And so you may be seen as someone who's more selfish than your peers or your family. And I just want to be here to remind you to just do you. Of course, there's a not self. There's a shadow of everything, right? Overinflating your ego, or your ability to do something, being overly competitive or overly forceful. Be careful not to push others too hard, as again, most don't have that defined heart. Most don't have your willpower. And just be aware of your sense of competitiveness. It is healthy to an extent. My 9-year-old daughter has a defined heart and she's also a manifester. So she's a very strong, forward, competitive energy. And it's been challenging for me with an undefined heart and my husband with an undefined heart to teach competitiveness in a healthy way. We don't want to take that from her because it's very natural to have that strong sense of competition and drive. So it's a weird balance trying to be like, yeah, that's so healthy and good for you, but also don't be a dick. It's just very, very interesting. So I'm sure if you're sitting here listening to this, you are a very self-aware person and you will catch any tendencies that feel like they are not emotionally intelligent or aware with your peers. But having that sense of selfishness, having that sense of drive and competition is very natural for you. And it's a very what's in it for me kind of energy. And then we have the open or undefined heart center, also known as ego center. And again, this is a motor that sends energy around the chart. So if you are open or undefined in the heart center, you are not designed to be competitive or to use that willpower to push your energy around in order to succeed. It would be really beneficial for you to live by the rule to never make a promise to yourself that your strategy and authority haven't already confirmed for you. So if you've already listened to your authority and it says, yes, this is a promise that I can keep, this is something that I really want to do, awesome. If not, you are just simply not designed to have that sense of willpower energy to push you through completing something. So you may not have enough energy to complete something, leading you to question your self-worth or your sense of energy, or, am I burnt out? Why am I struggling so bad? it's really important for me to say, from one open-hearted, literally, person to another, to value yourself as you are and know there is no need to compete or to prove yourself. Because the shadow or the not self side of this open heart center is feeling unworthy and feeling undervalued. Um, this desire to achieve can push you to really great things, and you can also really overachieve and try to prove your ability at the cost of your own health, at the cost of yourself. So ask yourself, do I think I have something to prove in this situation? Is it like I have to do this or people won't see my value? Especially if you're a newer business owner. When I first started my business, actually, probably when I first started at any job. Yeah, looking back now, I was an overachiever in everything, like staying late, doing more than really I was paid to do. But especially when I was a newer business owner, I would give so much content, so much value, so much time, so much of my time. I impeded on my own boundaries, right? I felt like if I didn't get back to people in my Voxer app right away, then they would think they were wasting their money. So be aware of those things. Start to notice, where am I trying to prove that I'm valuable? Where am I trying to prove that it's worth investing in me or my services or my product? And the reality of it was, I've walked so many clients through this sense, the amount of content and things that we were putting out there to feel like we were giving a better value was actually not even being picked up by the other people because it was too much. Like I had this one client who had a membership where she was doing so much stuff on a weekly basis. I think it was like 10 things weekly. And I said, "Have you ever asked your audience if they use all that?" And she hadn't. And when she did do the feedback or the poll on it, most of the things weren't being used every week. And so she was trying to give so much value and it burned her out. She had no time in her day to actually work on growing her business. She was just trying to keep up. And these people were overwhelmed with the amount of things that she was giving them in that community. So allow yourself to dial it back just a little. And of course, always take a poll, get feedback from your people. Like, are they actually using what you're giving them? Or is this something that you're just trying to fill your heart by saying, if I give more, they will have better results, they will have more value? When really, most of the time, it's that we need to streamline things and make it more simple in order for us to give our value, but also for them to understand, for other people to understand what we're giving them, and for them to actually have results because they're not confused and all over the place. So really practice releasing the pressure to prove that you're worthy. Um, whatever that means. I mean, I feel like I've done so many things around my innate self-worth, so many, from hypnosis and tapping and breath work and journaling, so many things. Whatever exercises feel really good for you to start understanding your inherent worth is really a crucial step for you. And it's good for you also to be able to complete projects that you start. So only say yes to things that you really want to do. That way, when and if you complete them, it's very much this, I'm a generator type, so I'm going to say satisfying feeling. Maybe it's this feeling of success, whatever it is for you. You're like, yes, I did that. It felt good. I completed it, right? And remember, the open centers reflect back and amplify back the energy of the defined center, whoever has the defined heart. So the wisdom that you hold in this open center space is being able to sample other people's sense of confidence and self-worth, and playing with money and the best way to use money and resources for the collective good. You get to sample all of that from people around you. You don't have your own consistent way that's just innately part of your process. You get to pick and choose through other people's energy. So the wisdom that you receive through having open centers is such a gift, because you are literally teaching back out through your open centers what you've learned. I hope that makes sense. Um, and a part of your process is really being here to understand what needs to be proved and what doesn't need to be proved, what's worthy and what's not. Do things that you want to do, not just because you want to prove something. And this was a really big key for me because when I was moving through my functional burnout, I was starting to deconstruct my sacral center and ask myself, what is it that I really need in order for my sacral to feel online again, for it to feel creative and passionate and connected to my work and connected to my family, connected to life again. I mean, one of my soul codes, my values is vitality. And when my sacral goes offline, I don't feel that vitality. I don't feel ambitious or excited or passionate or sensual or like the woman that I am, like the Taurus woman that I am. And I was, in a way, doing it all backwards. When I was trying to heal my sacral, I I was hitting a wall and I was like, okay, there's still something here that I'm missing, that I'm not noticing. And someone one day, I wish I, for the life of me, cannot remember who said this or where it was or what happened, but someone was like, well, remember the key to a woman's sexuality is through the heart. And I was like, oh, that's it. It's my heart center. I need to heal and open my heart center in order to move down and through to my sacral center. And so I started doing a lot more work on, yes, healing my heart, but opening my heart, opening to receive. And if you know my story, or if you don't know my story, I should say, as a child, I was put through a lot of different types of abuse. And so that disassociated me from my body, of course, sacral burnout, all of that. But it also shut down my heart. It shut down any part of me that felt I could be vulnerable or that I was allowed to receive love, receive anything. And a lot of the universe's energy that he, she, it, they was trying to send to me was bouncing back off, just reflecting back off because I wasn't open to receive anything. And so when I started diving into my heart center and healing that and doing practices to actually open my heart, like even a simple visualization. I did this with my last round of Revive Your Sacral group cohort. And the things that we called in after starting a daily practice of opening our hearts just through visualization was astounding. Like people won vacations at Cape Cod. They won an entire house for the summer just to go and play and stay and work at. Like all of these really epic things started coming through. And so, of course, the key to a woman's sacral center is through the heart. So I started really decoding my heart and figuring out why it's still, when I would picture it in my mind's eye, it was still like Elsa was there, like an ice box, right? Because I was so protected. And even though I had done so much work to allow like people like my husband in and even my best friend in, it was still in general day to day walking around frozen. It was shut off. I had no walking around money. It was doing nothing. And then the more I recognized my inherent self-worth through, like what I said, those practices of reflecting on journal prompts and walking through it with my own human design mentor, digging into my own chart even more, visualization, breath work, and tapping. Tapping, tapping, tapping. I mean, if you've been listening a hot minute, you know that tapping is my go-to to move any sort of energy all day, every day. And that's when I started to see a shift. I began to see my heart open when I would visualize it, and everything started changing. My sacral started clicking on. It was like I had new eyes for the world, and I could receive anything that I had been asking for, these desires, manifestations, if you want to call it that. I can't stand the word manifest anymore because it's so overused, but things on my manifestation list, right? Like started coming through. And then I had the sacral energy turned back on in order to actually initiate on the actions it takes to bring that, build that, whatever it is. So let's do a little visualization right now. If you're not driving or walking, actually, you could do this walking. You can do this with your eyes open if you feel like you have a good connection to like your inner visualization or whatever your inner mind's eye. But if not, just come back to this later and do this on your own time, and then maybe journal on it after what came up for you. So go ahead, get comfy, and then take a few deep breaths into the space that you are in right now. So for me, I'm sitting in my chair with my feet flat on the floor. And then just taking a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, relaxing the jaw and the shoulders, sinking a little bit deeper into the seat or the earth beneath you, wherever you are. Couple more cleansing breaths here. And then I want you to start to notice your heartbeat. If it feels better for you to put your hand on your heart, do that. If you can feel it without, that's fine too. This is your own practice. And start breathing into that heart space. Like when you inhale, maybe you see the air swirling around your heart center. Just noticing what it looks like without changing anything. Whatever shape, color, whatever you see that comes through, let that be exactly what you need to see today, and don't judge it. Maybe every time you breathe into the heart, you see her wake up a little bit more. She's probably really excited to see you. And then I want you to start noticing as you breathe in, she's beginning to open. Maybe it's that she cracks in half and opens to receive. Maybe it's a little door or a window. Maybe it's at the back of the heart, a little doorway appears. How does she want to open today? And maybe she doesn't. If she doesn't open, that's okay. Just keep breathing into her and know that the more you come back to this practice, the more she'll grow comfortable in opening. Every inhale and exhale, she opens a little bit more. And then give her an intention for this opening. Maybe this opening is to receive what the universe, God, source is sending her way. Maybe it's to receive and spot new opportunities for something that you want. Maybe it's to heal. Maybe it's to forgive. Maybe it's to feel your sacral come back online like it was for me. Whatever she needs today, just give her that intention and let her know that it's safe to be open to receive. And when you feel complete, when you feel you breathe into her and she feels alive, maybe she feels open, maybe she doesn't. Maybe you set a time to come back to her. Just start holding a moment of gratitude for your heart still beating right now. I mean, the fact that your heart is beating, you are here, you can hear this, or you can see this, that's a miracle every day, every day. So give her the attention she desires and deserves from you. Coming back to the room when you feel ready, but not a minute before. You can sit there for as long as you'd like. And I will say that I now do this practice 2 to 3 times every single day. And I literally have a reminder on my phone that goes off about it. But maybe you're just starting with once a day. Maybe you're starting with in the morning before you get out of bed, or at night before you close your eyes, or just as you're closing your eyes. Maybe it's before your next call. Whatever you feel, you can hold yourself accountable to going in and checking on your heart and reminding her to open and to soften. Maybe it's setting reminders like I do. Just start practicing that. And then start to notice over the next week, 2 weeks, what's changing. I guarantee something is going to change. In Revive Your Sacral, we do an entire cacao ceremony and a heart healing hypnosis actually too, from my beautiful, wonderful friend, Olivia Radcliffe. And that over and over again has been what people tell me has been the most significant part of their journey to transformation and Revive Your Sacral. This heart work is no joke. And it can be simple. It can be easy. You just need to stick with it. And you just need to keep showing up consistently for yourself. Like I do, setting that reminder. Yes, I'm a manifesting generator. I fall off any sense of consistency all the time, and that's my consistency. But I set reminders for like everything, and I hold myself to them, even when I don't want to stop for like 30 seconds and put my hand on my heart and just visualize. I do, because it's made a huge, huge difference in my life. I hope your heart is feeling so wonderful. I would love to hear what came up for you as you were doing this visualization or feeling or sensation, however you visualize / meditate. I want to hear all about what came up for you. So shoot me a message on Instagram or shoot me an email. And if you are interested in Revive Your Sacral, we do have a couple seats left. You can book a time to chat right in the show notes below, and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. We kick off in September, so it's really only a few weeks away, which is crazy, crazy, crazy to think about. All right. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week.